I am in Lawton, Oklahoma. About to pull into Lawton. I'm here on a wide open stretch of road. About to pick up a private client who called me yesterday, and he's doing construction work down in Dallas. He's going to end up paying me about $500 because I drove all the way from Dallas, and I'm going to bring him back. So obviously Lawton is it's a small town. But it's not like a dot on the map. Probably 30,000, 40,000 people. I kind of wanted to take this opportunity to discuss some questions. I'm going to base some of my discussion topics on some of the comments that I've gotten. One question that I've been getting is, how do you know what your dollars per mile is and what is a good dollars per mile? I've had several people ask me that. Number one, I told them that you need to know your numbers. There's a reason why I try to put those numbers on every video, because number one, it's helpful for me to remind me about how the day went. Because sometimes when I'm making the video, I don't know how the day ends necessarily. And so as I'm making the video, I can feel really good about a certain day. And that might just be because I'm having fun. It might just be because of certain things going on. Or vice versa. Maybe I'm having a bad day and not really having the best feeling throughout the day. But yet when I look at the numbers don't lie. The numbers will tell you how you're doing that day. So calculate your mileage as you drive. Make sure that you're keeping track of that. I use an app called Everlands, but there's tons of ways to do this. You don't even have to have an app. If you can just, every car has a trip odometer, and just use that. You can write it down. It's not that difficult. You just have to remember to do it. And what I do every day is, at the end of my shift, at the end of my work, the very first thing I do is I go over my numbers. I calculate how much money I made gross. Then I calculate my mileage, and I run my numbers. At the end of the day, guys, if you're not keeping track of what you're doing, you might be making money, you might not be, but here's the thing, you always need to be setting goals and striving for better. You need to be able to know, okay, this month was better than this month. This shift was better than that shift. And that's going to depend on where you drove, when you drove. And you can't compare these things unless you have hard data to back it up. If you just go by your feelings or by what you thought you remember, that's not really effective. It's not going to be as useful to you. So keep track of your numbers. And then, how do I know that my dollars per mile is good? Well, that's based off of experience. That's based off of knowing my market. It's based off of having an idea of past performance and what I'm capable of. Every market's different. For me, in my market, about $2 a mile is very doable for me. I can do $2 a mile and make a profit of probably $200 a day in an 8 to 10 hour window. That's very doable for me. If I'm even more strategic, if I drive at certain times of the day, etc., or at night, or if I work certain events, in other words, if I really put a lot of effort into it, I can get that over $3 a mile. Now, if I have private clients, because my private clients tend to pay more than Uber and Lyft will pay me, and I can make not only higher gross, but really help my dollars per mile there, especially if they're short trips. So for example, on this trip today, my dollars per mile is not going to be as high. But let's say he ends up paying me $500. This is before tip. I don't know how much he's going to tip me. But let's say it's $500. Well, It's taking me about 180 miles to get here. It's going to be about 180 miles back. So we're looking at about 360 miles for this trip. I'm doing the math in my head, but that's like $1.40 a mile. So not great, but not bad. This is going to be a 6-hour trip that is going to pay me quite well. You need to know your mileage first. You need to know your numbers. Then, based on those numbers, you can begin to experiment. You can begin to sort of figure out what works well for you. Another question I've been getting is, what about your dash cam situation? How did you decide to get this dash cam? The dash cam that I use is a Vantru Pro 2, I think, or something like that. Vantru. Just Google Vantru, or go on Amazon and Google Vantru, or search, I should say. Search Vantru. They may have even come out with a new model by now. I've had this dash cam for about a year. It cost me about $150 at the time. It's worth every penny. It's easy to use. It does the job. The only thing about it is that it has to have an SD card. There's some cameras out there that I kind of wish I had that they're cloud-based, meaning they're connected directly to the cloud. So as it's recording, it goes into the cloud. There's a couple advantages to that. Number one, you don't have to carry these things around. Number two, you don't have to upload, and that takes some time after each shift into your computer, because you want to store this data. The next thing is a practical one. If someone were to get into my car and let's say they're trying to carjack me, well, all they have to do is grab the camera. And if it's an SD card, they just throw it away. I don't have any proof. But if it's cloud-based, it's no problem. A criminal can destroy the camera, but the information that it captures is automatically up in the cloud, and that can be accessed anywhere else. You don't have to have that. I know that there's some subscription services out there. I'm kind of, I'm not saying you should do that. You do whatever works well for you. Personally, I'm kind of against a subscription model. As we all know, in modern life, there's subscriptions for everything now. Heck, they're even making subscriptions for things that come with your vehicle. You want heated seats? Well, after 3 years, you have to pay a subscription for that. So we're kind of being nickeled and dimed to death. I'm not saying steer clear of those services. Heck, maybe one day I'll do it. But what I'm saying is that this method right here, and you can get cheaper cameras than this, I just can't vouch for them. This camera right here, $150, that's 50 cents a day. If you drive every day, that's less than 50 cents a day that you're spending to have this level of security, of protection, really, against deactivation, false accusations. If you get involved in an accident, you can prove that it wasn't your fault. This is a small price to pay. And honestly, I think every driver, whether you're in rideshare, gig economy, or what, I think everyone should have a dash camera. It's that simple, it's that easy, and you never know when it could be a lifesaver and a real money saver. But if you're a rideshare driver, you must have a dash camera. You must. You're not required to have a dash camera, but you need a dash camera. Another question that I've gotten is, how did I get my private rides started? I plan on making more detailed videos about this, but I hope this is a good primer. The way I got started is that I got started. And I know that sounds trite and a little bit simplistic, but the biggest thing you got to do is you got to get started. Number one, separate your business and your personal checking. Create a business checking account. It's as simple as, heck, a lot of times you don't even need to go to your bank. If you already have a bank, they'll let you open a business checking account. You probably can do it over the phone if you have a prior relationship with a bank. They'll let you go on, call them, create a business checking account, get a business debit card, start paying for your gas, start paying for your other expenses that come with the vehicle, start paying that with that debit card. Have your Uber money, your Lyft money, your private rides money. Make sure that's going into your business checking account. That's step one. Part of being a business person, because being a business person involves certain tax situation. And so if you really want to take the next step, which is get an LLC, maybe even one day have a C Corp. Sorry about that, I got cut off by the client. That's my first step, is separate your business and your personal expenses so that you're able to begin the process and begin to get into the habits of being a business person. What most people are interested in is the money. How am I making money as a private client? Well, honestly, what you really need is business cards. And you need to have business cards. You need to have QR codes in your back. That signals to people that you're open to taking rides outside the apps. Now, here's a very important disclaimer. Do not get an Uber client in your car and start pushing your private rides business. Let the rider determine what relationship they want to have with you. If they are curious about it, if they ask questions, then propose to them, hey, in the future, here's my number, give me a call if you need to go to the airport, etc. You don't have to have a lot of fancy websites or booking tools. Now, I have those things, but you don't have to have those things. Start off small with all of these things in order to get started. Don't be afraid to start. Get started small and be able to get the ball rolling. The more complicated stuff, you can do that later. And I'll be making more videos about that. I'm going to do this private ride and be on our way.